The morning sun had barely touched the fields when Mariah froze in her tracks. At the edge of the Masai Mara Reserve in Kenya, among cracked earth and dry wind, something small clung to life. Against the wall of an abandoned structure lay a lion cub, its fur ragged, its body trembling. Across its back stretched a raw red wound that looked too painful to bear. There was no mother nearby, no sound but the whistling grass. The cub's dull eyes flicked toward Mariah, filled with both fear and desperate hope. Mariah's heart clenched. She knew wild animals were not to be approached carelessly, but leaving him meant certain death. With slow, cautious movements, she knelt and set down a white cloth and a cap filled with cool water. The cub hesitated, sniffed, then lowered his head to drink. That simple sip was the fragile beginning of a bond, one that would test courage, compassion, and the fine line between survival and extinction. What Mariah didn't know then was that saving this one fragile life would set into motion a story far greater than she imagined. A story of trust, healing, and return to the wild. It was just after sunrise, pale yellow light spreading across the dry fields on the edge of the Masai Mara Reserve in Kenya. Mariah, a devoted conservationist, was surveying the land for signs of wildlife. The heat made the air heavy, and large cracks cut across the parched ground. Her steps stopped suddenly when she noticed a small shadow pressed against a crumbling brick wall. It was a thin lion cub, its fur rough and ragged, eyes dull with exhaustion. Across its back was a large red wound, the skin peeling and fur falling away. The remains of some terrible ordeal. The small body trembled, yet the eyes still held a mix of fear and instinct. There was no sign of a mother nearby, only the sound of wind whispering through the brittle grass. Mariah approached cautiously, keeping her distance so as not to startle the cub. Pity filled her heart. She knew she could not walk away. Slowly, she knelt, speaking softly in the gentlest voice she could. The cub pressed its back against the wall, as if trying to find one last corner of safety. She opened her backpack, pulled out a bottle of cool water and a clean white towel. Placing the cloth on the ground, she slid it toward the cub as a harmless offering. The cub tilted its head, blinked, and sniffed the unfamiliar fabric. Mariah carefully extended her hand, avoiding sudden movement. Under the harsh sun, every rib showed beneath its fragile skin. The cub licked its dry lips, eyes fixed longingly on the bottle. Mariah poured a little water into the cap and set it in front of him before stepping back. After a pause, the cub lowered its head and drank in tiny sips, his eyes softening. Relief washed over Mariah. The wall of fear was beginning to fade. Quickly, she grabbed her walkie-talkie and called the Masai Mara Animal Rescue Team. Soon, a specialized rescue vehicle arrived with 2 veterinarians. One bent down to examine the wound and injected a painkiller to ease his suffering. The cub lay still, but his eyes followed Mariah, searching for safety. He was carefully placed into a clean, soft-lined cage. The door closed, and the vehicle rolled away from the brick wall. Mariah sat beside the cage, watching every movement, unwilling to look away. Outside the window stretched the scorched grassland, while inside the air conditioner and scent of disinfectant filled the tense silence. At the rescue center, the cub was taken to a clean, quiet isolation room. Soft lighting and cool tile floors gave some comfort after the exhausting journey. Placed on a veterinary table, he was prepared for treatment. Mariah never left his side, her eyes fixed on him. Doctors cleaned the wound with antiseptic, shaved the fur around it for easier monitoring, applied fresh bandages, injected antibiotics, and provided fluids to restore his energy. Every morning, Mariah returned early with food carefully chosen for recovery. The first meals were minced meat porridge, easy to eat and full of nutrition. Though weak, he ate steadily, never leaving a bite, as if afraid to lose his chance at life. Mariah spoke to him gently each day, creating trust and comfort. Over time, the wound began to dry, new fur sprouted around the scar, and his eyes grew brighter. Soon, he stood and walked unsteadily, each attempt stronger than the last. Doctors were amazed at how fast he healed. Mariah named him Quito, meaning little in Swahili. Quito quickly recognized her, calling out each time she appeared. Their bond grew deep, opening the way to the next step. Quito was transferred to a large outdoor enclosure, designed to mimic the Masai Mara. It had trees, grass, mounds, and space to run. Food was hidden in different places, training him to search and awaken his hunting skills. At first clumsy, he improved quickly. Within weeks, his instincts returned, his body strong and his coat glowing in the sunlight. Mariah began reducing contact, teaching Quito to live without depending on people. Surveillance showed him avoiding dangerous animals, finding shade from the sun, and drinking from puddles. Rangers agreed he was ready for the wild. Finally, a special day was chosen for his release. Mariah prepared herself for the moment of farewell. The rescue vehicle carried Quito to a wide, untouched grassland far from villages and tourists. The wind carried the smell of fresh grass and damp earth after rain. The cage door opened. Quito stepped out slowly, taking in the air of freedom. He paused, turned his head, and looked back at Mariah with deep, unforgettable eyes, filled with gratitude and a trace of longing. Then, he turned and walked away, fading into the endless, golden grass. Mariah watched until his small figure disappeared beyond the mounds. Birdsong and the soft wind felt like a gentle farewell. A new journey had begun for Quito, his true home in nature. Mariah returned to the rescue center, continuing her mission to protect other fragile lives. Whenever she thought of Quito, she smiled, knowing she had done something meaningful. She believed that every life saved is a piece of hope, proof that love and patience can bring back even those standing on the edge of death.